And rather, your last video I drop it at the mama. Abusuya, you catch him said there is much interesting moment ahead. And the political highway so I shit and yeah, as to cry, aha, gossip politics TV. So unsubscribe here, subscribe and hit on the notification bell. So any update to be ever dropping on so once every to me. I can be Abusuya, then and a coso a political highway. So there is much interesting moment ahead. Ura! Operation Recover or Loot. Nioma Ekoso. Former health minister. Ebusuya Sisi Papano. Neho Aqua Keduma. BNI. Ebusuya Papano. Ya arrest no. Echese during Akuffo Addo 8 years no. During Akuffo Addo ne 10 no. COVID-19 na etisi on my echese Ghana hase yema ubi a share them. Quarantine and the own mana nose masks eboano and ne ade ebusuya sa COVID-19 and kofui NPP fui efa so edwere sika papa because oshe sika world market ede ebreya na say IMF for ede breya na enye sika keto sa COVID-19 vaccine si ebusuya sika epie fremu ba yese papa no wabo sika ni nyinem Abusuya wabo sika ni nyina mu asisi ampanfo ensa etumi asonimu according to Léàks-Watch ofusu waba be break hisa news ya papa o chese yedna kwa kopie mu e wo BNI amaya interrogate no amasisi anoma efreche boboba abusuya mo yenko na yenkonkoti ensema Léàks-Watch fusu edituja unsubscribe here subscribe and hit it on the notification bell so that any update we ever dropping on once able to me akabi gossip politics TV so madam say
of the audit report. Sure. And two auditing private auditing firms worked with the Auditor General to do this. We'll get into the specifics now. Right. But my curiosity first is where this sits within the bigger oral agenda. Oral was a thing that drove you into power, arguably. Has government abandoned the oral primary focus and now, following up on audit and other forensic matters? Because as a criticism goes, you are realizing that you promised far more than you can deliver.
First of all, I don't know who is making that criticism. I've heard NPP folks, some of whom have been the subject of intense oral activity, turning around to make these claims. Of course, admittedly, there are those in our party too who
are frustrated.
Would wish that
pace is slow.
Well, not necessarily. You see, oral simply means Operation Recover All Roots. In other words, anybody found to have committed offenses against the state relating to corruption will be taken through a process of prosecution. And once they are convicted, to the extent that it is possible, whatever it is that they have stolen from the state will be retrieved. That is what it is. So there was no other way this was going to be carried out other than through a lawful system, which then means that certain steps have to be undertaken in order to ensure that we meet the requirements of the law. That is the only way that oral was going to be prosecuted. Even before President Mahama became president, he took action to gather as much fact as possible to serve as the basis for further investigation. Now, once the oral committee finished, and as the president and many others have explained, you could not take that document that they had compiled to court because it would not stand scrutiny. You needed to have accredited state agents investigate these matters, gather appropriate evidence, arrest or invite those who are alleged to have committed these offenses, put the evidence together, build the dockets, and then charge them and take them to court. That is precisely what has been happening since we've been in power. There were 280 cases that oral unearthed. They were shared amongst the CID, the NIB, previously called BNI, and then the EOCO, Economic and Organized Crime Office. Now, these entities have been busy at work, and they have done a lot of work. As I speak to you, NIB alone has completed work on 27 dockets, which the Attorney General is working on, reviewing some. Some he has taken to court. So, for instance, the National Service Authority case, it involves Gift Owari and Mr. Osesi Bienchi. they have been in court for quite some time. Indeed, 2-3 days ago, another 21 charges were slapped against Mr. ACB. Now, in addition to these two, there's another gentleman who used to work at the National Service who is also standing trial. In addition to them, another 21 people are going to be charged because some work that the Auditor General did has unearthed further evidence against such people. There's a Sputnik V vaccine case involving Akuffo Addo. I noticed that he's been in the news engaging in bluster and claiming that nobody has touched him. That is not true. He was arrested, he was interrogated, questioned, and cautioned.
You say he was arrested? He
was arrested by NIB.
When?
Oh, that's a couple of months ago.
So this year, or talking about latter part of last year?
Latter part of last year. He was interrogated. He wrote a caution statement. The docket on him has been built, 2 of them. And then he will be taken to court very soon and charged with offenses relating to Sputnik V and then the COVID frontier.
As in what did the investigations establish that
I think that there are cases of causing financial loss to the state and what have you, and things that he did that violated the procurement laws and what have you.
So this relates to causing financial loss to the state?
Violation of the procurement laws and several other charges that the Attorney General will be preferring against him. So it is not true that he has not been touched and he is working a free man. He is by no means a free man. Of course, until he is convicted, his liberty to be granted him. He can go wherever he wants, but he is being dealt with by the appropriate security agencies.
Now, he wasn't detained, were arrested.
Of course, you'll be there for some time. Once they are done with you, they will release you. In fact, I mean, it hardly occurs that even people standing trial are kept in custody, unless under exceptional circumstances. Chairman Wuntumi, for instance, and the others who are standing trial with him, they go and come. And that has been the trend. When Dr. Akuffo Addo go on trial, they were going and coming. They were never kept in custody. So that in itself means nothing. Now, if you look at the Accra SkyTrain project case, for instance, Mr. Solomon Asamoah and Professor Amir Kofi are standing trial. Now, in spite of what the OSP is doing on SML, there's another case that the Attorney General is looking into regarding SML, and that one to a docket.
So this directly relates to Ken Ofori-Atta?
Yes, and others too. And in the fullness of time, the Attorney General will unravel that. There's a free Wi-Fi case, for instance. That one too, the docket is ready. Very soon they will be standing trial. There's a National Lottery Authority. There's a Buankra Inland Ports. There's DRIP. I've mentioned COVID-19 frontiers already involving Ajma and one Samuel Bansa. There's a Pualugu multipurpose dam. There's a National Ambulance case. The mathematical sets case. Moshosho rice case.
No, but what are the updates? You just mentioned.
They have
what's the
updates
on them?
with the individuals who have all been cautioned. Evidence has been gathered against them. Dockets have been prepared, which means that the documentation upon which the Attorney General will be going to court is ready. So it's only a matter of time before they are taken to court and formally charged, and then the trial will begin. And there's the duplicative digitalization case. There's a West Blue judgment debt case. There's a Bank of Ghana value for money audit. The National Cathedral value for money audit is actually ongoing. So once that is completed, based on the findings that are made, action will be taken. There's All African Games. Indeed, that one, the Auditor General has finished his audits, and in the next few days he will be releasing it. So I can disclose that to you. And several others, the Japan royalties, the Polo Club.
There's a lot of interest in the Japan royalties.
Yes, that one too.
What's there?
So that one, they are almost done with the investigation. And once they are done, they will put together a docket. The Australia visa scandal, for instance, is a matter that has been looked into. The AFCON 2024 budget, and then the Ghana Trade Fair land case. Now, if you go to Yoko, they have over 40 cases that they are looking into, with over 100 people who have gone through the same process that I have just outlined. NIB has about 43 people. So when you put that together, we are talking in excess of 140 people who have been questioned and have gone through various processing leading to prosecution. So any claim that oral is dead or oral is not being fulfilled is simply not the case. In the Edubuahin case, that is the the National Signals Bureau case, for instance, the state is left with just 2 witnesses to conclude its case. In the Wuntumi case, the state has actually wrapped up its case, and Wuntumi is being invited to either do a submission of no case or open his defense, which is the standard practice in any trial. In the National Service case too, they are going through the motions for people to stand trial and all that. So any claim that oral has been abandoned or that oral is not working is simply not true. the MPP, as part of their propaganda, puts that out, like what Ajmamenu is doing. Here is a man who has been held, and yet he claims nothing has happened, when the evidence shows that indeed something is happening. So I can understand, if you see the magnitude of the corruption that we have to deal with. I mean, for instance, what was revealed in Parliament today. These are but I'm only citing it. These are jaw-dropping instances of corruption. So it is natural that it will anger people, and they will demand swift action. And government is committed to engaging in that swift action, except that we have to go through due process. And not all the processes are in the hands of government. For instance, when the matter goes to court, it falls within the bosom of the court and trial judge to dictate the pace. And in all the cases that have been in court so far, the Attorney General has done his bit by moving on with the case, making his case strongly, and in some cases nearing the completion of the making of his case. So I would argue that oral is very much on course, and that the right things are being done. Of course, there could always be room for speeding up the process. Why not?
The promise of oral, though, wasn't about prosecution necessarily. Prosecution was a means to recovering all loot.
But if, you see...
and you are nowhere near that.
No, but you see, Evans, I cannot simply accuse you of stealing this laptop and then purport to recover it. Recovery comes only after you've been convicted of the offense. Then the state says that we have cited this property, that if we confiscated, would represent proceeds of the crime, or that we could sell or do something with it to recover whatever it is that we lost to you by virtue of the commission of that crime. But up until the time that they are convicted, the most that the state can do is to freeze their assets. In other words, ring-fence and protect it pending the conviction so that the state can take it over. And in that regard, absolutely 1.5 billion Ghana cedis in assets frozen in relation to, and that is for Iyoko alone. I've not spoken about what FIC has done or what even the NIB and co are doing. So any claim that government is not making an attempt to recover...
You pulled that figure out recently.
Yes.
But I've not seen a breakdown of when you say 1.5 billion.
You see, again, the reason
what
why...
Is the breakdown
the reason why it was even necessary...
For
For instance, in Chairman Wuntumi's case alone, close to 50 million Ghana cedis of money in his account has been frozen. Similar figures are involved in the Dubuahin case, for instance, in the National Service case, and many others. Indeed, there were those who accused the president of misleading them when he said that Iyoko had, as it were, recovered 600 million Ghana cedis. That was in respect of the normal everyday cases that Iyoko handles, because they deal with issues of money laundering, cyber crime, cross-border crime, carjacking, and what have you. So those are regular things that they do. But in respect of oral, they are not going to be able to recover until the persons involved have been convicted by a court. That then will give them the legal remits to recover whatever it is that is alleged to have, or the court would have found to have been stolen. But for now, what they can do is to freeze it. And they have done it. 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. That is what the situation. And this is even for the cases that they've been able to touch. Those that they've not touched, they are still in the process of tracing these assets. And you know that any time that anybody comes under investigation or is undergoing prosecution, they do concurrent tracing of assets so that as much as possible, we secure what we believe will be commensurate to the amounts involved in offenses that would have been committed.
You had promised when you were campaigning that you had estimated to recover over $20 billion.
I don't think that is what was said. What was said was that the total amount involved in the offenses that have been committed. That is what it was.
And the oral.
Of course. But the point then is...
And the oral.
Absolutely.
The intention is in the name.
Of course.
So if you say over 20 billion is the estimate, then the natural assumption is that you're telling us that you intend to recover that.
Prosecute somebody and not find anything, because he would either have squandered whatever it is that he has looted, or hidden it in a way that is a bit difficult to find.
I guess that's why you're freezing assets now.
So that they do not dissipate it or transfer it or move it beyond the reach of the state. But wherever any asset is found to be in the possession of anybody who is under investigation for oral, that asset is immediately frozen. I'll give you some numbers in respect of specific individuals who are standing trial.
So as we speak right now, there are people not only in your party, but key individuals, some of them who play the role in the oral committee itself, like Domalebo, who publicly, not once, at least even here on my show, had raised concerns about the pace of the work that is currently being done by the agencies and the government to realize the full ambition behind the oral.
You see, people have
those people, because they know they were there, they've done it. They don't trust that the government is moving fast enough.
I'm not sure. Again, you have to define
that the actuals is not matching.
You see, you have to define
the
what you mean by government is not moving fast enough. So I've told you what NIB has, and it is under a year. The Attorney General was sworn into office sometime in February last year, and within a year, he is able to supervise a situation where 27 dockets and another 40 cases being looked into by Yoko has been able to get 140 people and beyond, and seized assets worth 1.5 billion Ghana cedis, with quite a number of people standing trial. When a case goes to court, not Mr. Dumelovo or any of the critics can determine how the judge conducts the case. And it is imperative. Like you see, when we were in opposition, we used to accuse the MPP of manipulating the judiciary. We used to say that the MPP did not allow for an independent judiciary. It is not the submission of the individuals saying this, I would imagine, that we should manipulate the judiciary to achieve certain political ends. That government cannot do. What government can do is to build a case, gather sufficient evidence, and then go to court to convince the court that this individual or that individual has committed this crime, for which reason this punishment ought to be meted out. And where we find any assets involved, we retrieve it for the benefit of the case. That has been done. And I believe that we need to acknowledge the work that has gone into it. Of course, are we all frustrated about the pace of work of the Ghanaian judiciary? It's a long-standing criticism against the Ghanaian judiciary. But it is not something that government bears responsibility for. Government has tried to find ways around it. So, for instance, Cabinet has approved the reintroduction of the tribunal system, which in any event is in the Constitution. Of course, in the past, because of some happenings in the past, it came under criticism and it was shelved. But it is something that has been resuscitated, and very soon it will be rolled out to deal with cases of oral and cases involving illegal money and other cases that clog our court system. So a lot is happening in that regard. But as for the fact that government can dictate the pace of cases being handled by a court or a judge, that one is beyond the capability.
The question then is, when did the NDC know this? Because of the pitch.
But you see, Evans, I want you to give me...
The pitch in the campaign
Evans, I want you to
ahead of the election was you were absolutely sure that you could nail these individuals.
But of course, that is exactly what we are doing.
Together.
If we didn't believe that we could nail it, why is it?
It was the expectation that there was no expectation management. Evans, now you're doing expectation management.
No, Evans, no.
That the courts ultimately will decide.
But of course, but who has ever been in doubt in Ghana that a court will decide the guilt or otherwise of anybody? Since at least we return to...
But during a campaign...
But Evans, did we ever say... did we ever say during the campaign that we were going to use extrajudicial means? Did we ever say so?
It was always going to be through the judiciary.
Absolutely. So when you say that...
Always going to be.
When you say that...
It is a reason why...
Yes.
Within the party, there's frustration.
No.
Because they know definitely it has to go to court.
But
they've been told to expect that this will almost happen as a matter of fact. As a matter of automaticity.
How so?
But obviously it's not the case.
I don't think that is fair.
Isn't that why there is...
It is neither fair... You see, people have expressed frustration. People have expressed frustration about the pace of cases in courts in Ghana. It's a long-standing criticism against the judicial system. It is not a recent development or phenomenon. It's a long-standing criticism that the judiciary of Ghana has faced. Even we who are in leadership have had to criticize them in that regard. But that is not something that you lay at the doorstep of government. What should government have done that it has not done? It has not done, I beg your pardon. So Adimamenu is all over the place engaging in blaster, claiming that he is working a free man. I have just shown you that he is not a free man by any means. You understand me? So whatever has to be done to hold him to account is being done. Whatever has to be done to hold the National Service folks to account is being done. They have been taken to court. And they've been in court for quite some time. Edu Buahin was the first person to be taken to court. I have told you that, but save 2 witnesses. The case is almost, the state has almost made this case. In Wuntumi's case, the state has finished making its case. The court will determine when Wuntumi comes to either open his defense or make a submission of no case, which is standard. It is a regular development in criminal cases.
Was oral oversold?
Oral was not oversold. No, how was oral oversold? Again, we need, I insist that we need to go back to exactly what exactly was said under oral that has not been done. When we said we were going to engage in oral, what did we say we would do that we have not done? Have we not arrested people? I have told you the numbers, 140. Under which regime have you had this number of people being interrogated by security agencies? 140. I have told you that. Indeed, I can read out the names to you if you are interested. You understand the point I'm making?
Okay, abusia we ne ensema ekoso our political highway so former health minister NHS ye de ne ho nsem e de brem a enye asem keto akra na bibibi e ba besi auditor general abusia waba e de bombshell about the political highway so ya be drop e our next video ni mo unsubscribe ya subscribe na hit on the notification bell so na be any update we be drop no onsa ebetumi akabi medamase.